Hey guys, it's Multi-Miner. Today I'm making a video and it's my brother. He likes to write short books and stuff. Hope you like it. Enjoy.
A Grave for the Future by Tucker McCall. Warning, some blood and gore in this story. Chapter 1, the beginning. Daddy, I want a story, please, it's Halloween. Okay, said the dad. One dark, bloody night, full of things no man nor woman would want to see, but our main character did not think of the murder that could be out there. He could hear for miles a terrifying scream for help, but he didn't care. He just walked to a graveyard where he sat on an old bench covered in blood. It was pitch black, with a full moon. Radius was completely oblivious to everything around him. He could fall asleep to the sounds around him. They were like lullabies. The bench covered in blood was like a warm blanket for the night. This young man was Radius Johnson. Radius walked over to a grave where he was yet to see a grave, which said that he was born 1999 and died in 2038, October 31st, which is a year from then. He knew that this grave had always been a place that would frighten him, but he paid no attention to the grave, which he laid by and went to sleep. Before I get to the story, let's talk about Radius. As we know, he was born in 1999, on October 31st, which is Halloween. Radius was born and raised in Glen Rio, Route 66, New Mexico, in an abandoned town. He was 38 years old, and he had no friends and very little family. He had some friends when he was a boy, but then he changed. He saw a man speaking with someone that looked like he was dead, which changed him into a weird guy who nobody wanted to be near. He was obsessed with being at a graveyard at midnight. He had a brother named Jack Johnson, who was funny, social, and lived in a fantasy world. He lived in LA. He used to be a kid who was very serious about everything and controlling. Then he met a girl named Virginia, who was the love of his life. But he was too chicken to ask her out. So his brother, Radius, went up to Virginia and told her about Jack. Then Virginia and Jack went on a date. So that's when and how Jack became a lover boy. But every Halloween, he turns into the dead. So his parents took him to LA, away from the Virginia, away from his love. Being away from him, her, cured him, but it destroyed Radius. It made Radius crumble from the inside out. Nobody was there to help him. So back to LA where Jack lives. He was on his way to a graveyard, but instead of being full of lovely things that were yet to die. Although this would happen later in the story, it's best to know now. Well, this graveyard was full of magic. It had flowers, food, sparkles, but there was one spot that had been different from all the other graves. It was dark and gloomy with spiders. Jack was super scared, so he left the grave to the nice colorful ones, which he found in his grandpa's grave, and sat down and put an ice-cold bucket of lime soda. Because when his grandpa got older, which was the only time Jack knew him, he stopped drinking beer. Jack fell asleep right by the grave, and the ice-cold bucket of lime soda fell on him and shattered. Chapter 2, The Monster. Jack awoke from the ice-cold and lime soda falling on him, which was freezing, so he screamed, "Holy moly, that cold!" Then an old man walked up to him and hit Jack in the head with a bottle, and Jack was out cold. That's a little bit ironic because he just now screamed, "Holy moly, that cold!" Jack awoke hanging upside down in a room full of people who he had never met before. Then the old man walked in and said something under his breath, but Jack could not hear it. Then the old man looked up at Jack and his eyes turned black. He ran at Jack, then stopped. He took a knife and cut the rope that was holding Jack up, but the old man reminded him of someone. He looked at the man for a solid 20 minutes before he noticed it was his grandpa. His grandpa was dead, though. How was he standing there? Jack put his hand on his grandpa's heart, and there was no beat. His grandpa was a zombie. He ran around, but there was no escape. Now back to where Radius is. Radius was on his way home when he got a terrible feeling in his head. Now back to where Jack is. Jack got this feeling, then they both ran. Then Jack and Radius, could see through each other's eyes. Jack was looking at Radis's grave for the future through Radis's eyes, and Radis was staring into the cold, dark eyes of his dead grandpa through Jack's eyes. It was just weird. Radis shook his head and screamed no, because once his brother left for ILA, Radis was sent to a foster home because he started destroying everything that he could even touch. Now he's feeling better, but once Jack and Radis connected, Radis turned into the monster that he used to be. The weird thing is that today was January 1st, 2038. Then Radis dove into an ocean and stayed under for 9 months. Then Jack dived into the ocean and pulled Radis out from the sea. Jack told Radis what day it was and the year, but there was no response. Jack screamed, Right is, it's October 1st, 2038. You only have 30 more days. I saw the grave. Please, Radis, we can fix this. Radis, please don't die on me. Don't die. Radis never awoke. Jack ran around the city looking for doctors to help, but he could find nobody. Jack ran to a bridge that he and Virginia used to sit at and gaze upon the sun, but Jack sat there looking at the sun when Virginia walked over with a bloody face, a cut leg, a broken arm, and one whole hand missing. She yelled at Jack and said, When you left, the city died. You destroyed all of us, Jack. You and LA should be the city to die. But you had to leave me and this town. Now guess what? We're only going to die thanks to you. And you know what I've been studying? Zombies. I know how to make everybody that dies turn into zombies. And then when I do turn everybody back, I will scare you so bad you wish and your stupid LA were dead. Jack pushed her away and moved back. More live humans kept walking up behind him, ready to eat some yummy brains. Jack was so terrified he ran to a house and hid in a dark attic with tons of cobwebs and spiders. Jack was so frightened he went and sat on a cold bed with springs poking out of it. Jack heard footsteps behind him, so he looked around, and right when he looked straight in front of him, he saw a man standing about 7 feet with red eyes and a box-shaped head and body parts that had to be welded onto him. Jack was so scared, he fainted. The box-head figure ran at him, peeled open his head, and ate Jack's brains. Then the box-shaped figure grabbed his own brain and shoved it in Jack's head so Jack would live on just to be scared. Chapter 3, Halloween. 30 days later, it's Halloween, the worst time of the year, and since the whole entire town was cursed, every Halloween, somebody dies. Radis awoke from Virginia, stomping on him. Radis woke up and ran right into a pole. He fell down, then got right back up and ran into the graveyard where his grave is. He was so terrified, he laid down right by it, then got up because he was scared. Then Jack awoke and ran to the graveyard where Radis was. Then they heard growling. They looked at all the graves and saw Virginia pouring the liquid that turns the dead into zombies. They were all as pale as a vampire. Jack looked around and then he saw the blood moon and he turned into a vampire. Radis looked around and every dead person he knew and everyone who was alive that he knew were all vampires and zombies. Radis knew that this was the end of him. He knew he was going to die, but he didn't give up. He stole a zombie costume and put it on and ran to the zombies, then to the basement. When he got there, he was jump scared, so hard he screamed like a little girl. Radis was confused, and Adam Sandler was the one who jump scared him. He's a comedy actor. Since when can he scare people? Well, anyways, he ran so far he started to rot slowly. He was being chipped away. Then he fell right down before he died. Virginia ripped out his brain and heart and cut them with a shovel. And Radis was now dead. He was buried right in his grave. Then maybe a year later on Halloween, Radis came back as a zombie. Then he was after Jack. He ran after him with a bloody shovel, but right before he hit him, Jack was pulled into the wall, then his eyes were thrown out of the wall. Jack was dead, but he was the leader of the dead, so now that he is dead, the zombies were free to able to eat everybody's brains. Okay, kids, it's almost over. You got one more part, said the dad. Chapter 4. It's over. Now let's finish the story, said the dad. Jack and Ratus lay dead with their brains leaking out as Jack and Ratus's best old friend walked over and grabbed them and brought them to Ratus's grave for the future. Since Jack was not supposed to have his brains ripped out and eaten, then his best friend of Ratus and Jack had to dig a new grave for Jack with a piece of driftwood. Then Ratus was thrown into the grave and said, Ratus, every Halloween you'd always make sure that everyone was safe from whatever wanted to eat our brains, or when a vampire wanted to suck our blood. I remember when we were little, you acted like Dracula, but then the real Dracula came and you saved everyone from having their blood sucked out. I never really got to thank you for showing me that I need to face what I'm scared of. I just want to say that. Then Jack and Ratus were buried and their brains sat on their grave. Daddy, I'm scared. Stop the story. Kids, there's nothing to be afraid of because it's Halloween. Now let me finish the story. Then it's been 40 years, and once again, it's Halloween. And then at the graves of Jack and Ratus, their hands popped out of the graves, and that town was cursed once again. Wow, Daddy, that was scary. Thank you so much. You are welcome, and happy Halloween.
Hope you liked that.
Yeah.
That's his Halloween story. He'll be making a Thanksgiving one for Thanksgiving, obviously. Like and subscribe. Thank you.